Hello everybody, what's the gear to you, and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D. In the previous episode, we saved the world. We stopped the moon from crashing into Termina, and everything is all peaceful again. Except for the fact that it's kind of not. Yeah, it's a little bit weird that when you start a new playthrough of this game, or at least start playing through the game again after you finish it, it just kind of goes back to the dawn of the first day. But what we'll be doing in today's episode is, there is one mask that we never actually demonstrated. We never demonstrated the Fierce Deity mask. A mask containing the dark power of the Fierce Deity. It can only be used in special places. That sounds interesting. On our first step towards Memory Lane, we are returning to Woodfall Temple, and we'll be entering the lair of the temple's boss. If we were to equip our Fierce Deity Link mask here, we can actually use it. Fierce Deity Link's head with the Deku body, that's hilarious. Masked Jungle Warrior Odolwa. This is the Fierce Deity mask. I believe we demonstrated it. We may have demonstrated it already during the finale of Majora's Mask 3D. I don't actually remember off the top of my head. But basically how this works is you'll be able to use sword beams as long as you have magic. It does consume magic though, so you do need to be careful about that. Basically, this makes all the bosses of the game a complete joke. So, look how easily we defeated Odolwa already. Unfortunately, not every single boss will be like this, but it is so much fun to just completely go into these bosses and just completely destroy them with the super amazing awesomeness of the Fierce Deity Link. Sadly though, this is one of the more limiting masks in the game, and when we leave this place, you'll see why. As you can see, even though we have the Fierce Deity mask equipped, we can't actually use it. The Fierce Deity mask can only be used in boss rooms and, strangely, fishing holes. So, we will be fighting every single boss one more time with the super amazing powers of the Fierce Deity Link. As for the fishing hole, though, that's a whole other story. Going back inside the boss room for Goht, we don't have any arrows. This is awkward. Please tell me there's arrows. Okay, there we are. I was a little bit concerned about that, but luckily there were arrows nearby. What killed the Ice Age? The Goat! To be completely honest, this boss fight isn't made a whole lot easier with the Fierce Deity Link. Catching up to it is still the biggest challenge with this boss fight, and yeah, it does go in a big circle and all, but you kind of have to wait around for that to actually happen. So, you're better off just doing this. And then switching over to the Fierce Deity Link and finishing him off that way. So while we go across this area, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the Fierce Deity Link itself, more so from a story perspective. So the Fierce Deity Link is never actually really explained that much, at least in terms of what the story of it is in the world of Majora's Mask. So the basic idea of it is this is theorized to be the Terminian counterpart to Link. It has a very similar body build as Link, and that mostly due to the fact that they reused Adult Link's character model for this character. But there are a couple theories as to the actual character itself. Some believe, myself included, that this really is the Terminian counterpart to Link in that he was the good guy, but Majora saw it as like the evil in the world, and that's why they were kind of fighting each other. There's also another belief that the Fierce Deity Link itself was the true evil behind all this, and it was just so evil that even Majora admitted itself that the Fierce Deity was the real evil in this world. Personally, I like to think more of the hero aspect of this, but there is one thing that's a little bit non-canon that can kind of give credence to the idea that the Fierce Deity Link really is evil. In the Majora's Mask manga, there's a really interesting detail that points out that when Link is in control of the Fierce Deity mask, he's not actually in control of the mask itself. The mask takes full control of Link's body, and Link only has the free will enough to take the mask off. He's never actually in control of the Fierce Deity itself. That was kind of a cool 3D effect. And we've defeated Goht once again. That magic jar. I still love the detail that Link waves goodbye to the turtle. Moving on to the Great Bay Temple. I thought I was free from this horrible thing. Seriously, this entire area was perfectly fine in the Nintendo 64 version. Why do they have to go out of their way to screw up everything in this version? Dun dun. Dun dun. Dun 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 dun. Gargantuan masked fish Gorg. So this boss fight is interesting with the Fierce Deity Link. It's one of those things where it feels like it's either like super difficult or super easy and barely an inconvenience or things like that. Basically, you want to find where he is in the water, and when you get the chance to lock onto him, use the magical abilities of sword beams to slash his stupid face. The unfortunate downside about this is the fact that it could be a little bit hard to see where Georg is in the water, and that's kind of a problem with this entire game in general. I don't remember that being a problem in the Nintendo 64 version, but it's also been a while since I played that version as well. And now for the part that kind of sucks. Because the platform goes into the water midway through the battle, you can only use the Fierce Deity Link halfway through the battle. Did they go out of their way to screw up everything about the Great Bay Coast? This was one of the most fun boss fights to fight with the Fierce Deity Link, and they screw this up too! Why? I've fought that boss way more times than I need to in my life. I don't want to fight it again. I hate what they did to Georg in this version of the game. And like I said, Fierce Deity Link is really only useful at the very beginning of the fight. As we head on towards the final boss of this world, there is one more thing that I'd like to talk about regarding this area that I never actually got a chance to demonstrate. So, I don't know if I can find footage of this or anything like that, but which song is it? Okay, this one. There we go. So, the red stone that activates the Stone Tower Temple flipping upside down, they actually changed the location of the stone itself in this version of the game. So, in the Nintendo 64 version of this game, that statue was actually hiding behind one of those statues. Behind one of the blocks that you would use the Elegy of Emptiness to move. It made it kind of annoying to activate the red statue because you'd have to play the Elegy of Emptiness more times than you needed to even move the blocks. Thankfully, that was changed in the remake. I kind of wish we were able to turn on the Fierce Deity mask in the room that leads to this place so that we can actually see the Fierce Deity Link in this cutscene. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So of all the bosses in Majora's Mask, honestly, this is the one that's least affected by the Fierce Deity Link. And this leads to a bit of a problem that I have with this thing. So the concept of it is really, really cool. But it's not really that great to use in practice because there's just not really a whole lot of good places to use it. Like, basically it's only the Odolwa fight where it's really, really useful. But that's also like the easiest boss fight in the entire game. It's a little useful against the Goht fight. It was very helpful against Georg, but then they had to go and screw up that boss fight, just like they did with everything else in that region of the game. And it's not that great here. But there's another reason why I want to come into this place anyway, so it's not a complete waste of time. So, first of all, we can actually use the giant mask towards the beginning of this fight, now that... Oh. We can't. Goody! We can't use the giant mask at the beginning of the fight, even though we already have it. Great, cool, awesome, outstanding, amazing, great level design. So one thing that I wanted to mention was the fact that these bosses actually have elemental weaknesses. So this is something that I never knew about until after I already finished recording the Let's Play. So, if I remember correctly, the blue twin mold is vulnerable against fire. It'll take extra damage if you do this. And the same thing for the red one. Blue arrows, or the ice arrows, will deal more damage against the red one. I don't feel the need to throw off this entire battle because, honestly, not much changes with the Fierce Deity Link, so I think we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Before we rematch Majora, there is one more place I'd like to demonstrate before we move on. So, we've been through this area before. This was the Southern Swamp shooting gallery. But we've never actually been inside this area before, and this is completely new to the remake. The Swamp Fishing Hole. There is a lot to go over with the fishing hole itself, to the point where this is probably going to be a separate bonus episode way later down the line. And I know it took a while for this one to appear, but hear me out. The fishing hole, like I said, it takes a while to go over, but there's also a bunch of other miscellaneous things regarding Majora's Mask that we never actually gone over, such as the Majora's Mask manga that I mentioned briefly earlier. So all that will be handled in a second bonus video we'll be uploading later. My mindset is that we'll be recording the footage for the fishing holes during live streams, but I can't promise anything. The reason why I'm talking about this right now is because, like I also said earlier, for some reason, you can use the Fierce Deity Link in the fishing hole. I don't know if you can actually use the fishing rod with the Fierce Deity Link. You can't use any of your regular items with this form, not even your ocarina or anything like that. Which is kind of weird because in the game's files, I believe even in the 3DS version, the Fierce Deity Link has a fully finished animation of playing an ocarina, even though one doesn't actually appear in his hands or anything like that. But this is more than likely just a leftover from the fact that they used Adult Link's character model as the base for making Fierce Deity Link. Hey, what's with that scary face, fella? If you leave here looking like that, you'll scare away potential customers and ruin our reputation. Wait, hold up. Where'd you even come from? This is the worst kind of discrimination. The kind against me. So I kind of glossed over it, but the dialogue between Tattletale and Link will be slightly different if you rematch Majora. But you still can't skip the cutscenes, which is a little bit unfortunate. But now let's head over here. And face Majora once more. Will you play with me? Your masks don't look all that powerful to me, so you'll play? Well, shall we go? And now it's time to rematch Majora. So one thing that I can definitely advise that is going to be more of a do what I say, not what I do kind of situation is, make sure you have some magic potions before coming in here, if you're going to be fighting with the Fierce Deity Link, or if you're going to be facing Majora in general, because this is going to consume magic really quickly. I believe there are some magic refills across the area, but just you definitely want to keep that in mind. One thing you want to remember is the fact that Fierce Deity Link does not have a traditional shield, so your defense isn't going to be all that great during these rematches. But the really cool thing is that you can basically one-hit kill all the remains, so that's something that's definitely worth mentioning. So as we go across this area, one thing that I'd like to talk about a little bit is the fact that there are technically ways that you can play with the Fierce Deity Link outside of boss rooms. There are a couple glitches that I will not be demonstrating during the Let's Play because I kind of don't know how to do them, but there are a few glitches that will allow you to do this, most notably the 4th day glitch. I can't tell you how to do this because, like I said, I don't know how, and I kind of don't feel like doing research on a glitch that I don't really care that much about. But the thing about the 4th day glitch is that it is one of the ways that you can play as the Fierce Deity Link outside of boss rooms. If you do this, though, be careful because Fierce Deity Link is freakishly huge. So if you try going across Clock Town, there are going to be chances where you'll get stuck, where you can't go outside of a building or anything like that. It's kind of unfortunate, so definitely be careful about that. Now, going back to the Fierce Deity Link on more of a development level, one thing I want to talk about is where the mask came from in terms of development. So, well, by the way, we just defeated Majora. Yeah, this is another fun thing about having the Fierce Deity Link. It makes the Majora boss kind of a joke, and it's really fun to just completely destroy this thing. But as for the development process of the Fierce Deity Link, the development history about this was that there was originally going to be an adult Link mask, where Link would be able to turn into his adult Link form from Ocarina of Time. However, Nintendo felt that this mask was a little bit pointless, because you can already use most of Ocarina of Time Link's items as young Link in this game. So they couldn't really think of more items that would be exclusive to adult Link in this game. So they instead decided to make it an overpowered mask that you get as an endgame reward. So a few things I'd like to talk about before we wrap up this video is, I mentioned during the finale that I was thinking about having some kind of video showing off the alternate credit sequence that shows what happens when you go through the game without getting any of the masks or anything like that, because there are a few things that will give you hints on where you can get new masks. I decided not to do this because it would require me going through the entire game all over again, doing the bare minimum, and whenever I play through Majora's Mask, I like going for 100% because that really is just the best way to experience this game. So I'm not going to be making it a priority to make this like a separate bonus video or anything like that. There will be at least one more bonus episode for this Let's Play showing off the fishing holes in Majora's Mask. I'm not entirely sure when this will be uploaded. I'll try to make it uploaded as quickly as possible, but I can't guarantee anything because Breath of the Wild is kind of like its own monster to deal with right now. So I can't make any promises on when the bonus video will be uploaded, but we will talk about the fishing holes. We will be talking about the manga for Majora's Mask, as well as any other miscellaneous topics that I can think of. So if you have any ideas for what we could talk about that we have not already covered in this Let's Play, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask 3D, and until next time, leave gear to you.